The strange metal disc hovered silently above Houston for 3 days before anyone made contact. People watched the sky, afraid but curious. News stations showed the same images over and over, while experts tried to guess what might happen next. On the 4th day, the aliens finally spoke. Commander Alice Wright stood tall in her blue uniform as the transmission came through. At 42, she had spent most of her life preparing for important moments, but nothing could have prepared her for this. The United Space Command had chosen her to lead this first conversation with beings from beyond Earth, and her hands trembled slightly as the screen lit up. The alien that appeared had pale blue skin and large, round eyes that seemed too big for its narrow face. Alice noticed it had 6 fingers on each hand and breathed through small slits along its neck. "We are Zilvari," the alien said in surprisingly good English. "We come in peace to establish contact with your world." Alice took deep breath. "On behalf of Earth, we welcome you. I am Commander Alice Wright of the United Space Command." The alien, who called itself Ambassador Kree-Tal, explained that the Zilvari Confederation included 12 different species from various star systems. They had been watching Earth for some time before deciding humans were ready for contact. Dr. Peter Holloway stood behind Alice, trying not to stare too obviously at the alien. As the lead xenobiologist for the contact team, he had 1,000 questions already forming in his mind. The aliens looked almost fragile compared to humans, with thin limbs and delicate features. "We have established a meeting place in orbit around your planet," Kreetal said. "We invite representatives to join us there for further discussions." 3 weeks later, Alice and Peter floated through the strange corridors of the Zilvari station. Despite artificial gravity in most areas, the aliens kept some sections in zero gravity. Alice found it easy to adapt, but noticed the Zilvari moved with much more grace than humans in the weightless environment. "Your species is remarkably durable," a Zilvari scientist named Valinara told Peter as they toured the research section. "We were quite surprised when we first studied your planet." "Durable? In what way?" Peter asked, adjusting his glasses. Valinaros. Large eyes blinked slowly. "Earth is what we classify as a death world. High gravity, extreme temperature variations, dangerous radiation levels from your sun, and an oxygen content that would be toxic to most Confederation species." Peter laughed, then stopped when he realized the alien was serious. "You mean Earth is considered dangerous?" "Quite so. The fact that humans evolved on such a planet makes you unique among our known allies. Your physical resilience is impressive." Alice found similar conversations happening throughout the station. The Zilvari seemed amazed by things humans took for granted. When a junior officer named Ben Rogers accidentally bumped his head on a low doorway and simply rubbed the spot with a quick ouch, 3 Zilvari rushed over with medical devices, certain he must have suffered a serious injury. "I'm fine, really," Ben insisted while the aliens scanned him repeatedly, their instruments beeping in what sounded like alarm. "An impact of that force would cause severe trauma to a Zilvari," one explained, still checking Ben's vital signs. "Your bone density is remarkable." As the days passed, more humans arrived at the station, while Zilvari representatives began carefully visiting Earth's surface. They wore special breathing apparatus and moved slowly in Earth's gravity, which they found punishingly heavy. In the station's main conference room, Alice sat across from Kreetal as they discussed a formal alliance. Large windows showed Earth, floating below them, beautiful and blue. "There are some in the Confederation who expressed concerns about contacting your species," Kreetal admitted. "Your history contains much conflict," Alice nodded. "We've fought many wars, that's true. But we've also made great progress toward peace. It is not just the fighting that concerns some, but your capacity for it. Humans can survive injuries, that would kill most Zilvari instantly. You live on a planet that would be lethal to many species without special equipment. Some fear these traits. Peter, who sat beside Alice, leaned forward. Those same traits could make us valuable allies. We adapt quickly to new environments. We're problem solvers. Kreetal's expression was hard to read, but Alice thought she detected something like hope in those large eyes. Yes, that is what I have argued to my superiors. In our long history exploring the stars, we have found few species with your particular ... advantages. Later that night, Alice couldn't sleep. She floated in her quarters, looking out at the stars. The Zilvari had shown them maps of nearby systems, revealing just how vast their confederation was. Humans had dreamed of not being alone in the universe, but nobody had imagined finding an entire community of alien civilizations waiting to welcome them. Peter knocked on her door, his face excited. "Alice, you won't believe what I just learned." From the medical exchange team, she invited him in. "What is it?" "The Zilvari and most Confederation species can't repair damaged tissues the way we can. They don't heal from cuts and breaks like humans do. And their bones are much more brittle than ours because they evolved on low-gravity worlds." Alice considered this. "So when they call Earth a death world ... they mean it literally. Most of them couldn't survive here without significant protection. Even a common cold virus might be deadly to them." Over the following weeks, a joint research base was established. Humans began learning about Zilvari technology, which was far advanced in areas like space travel and energy production. The Zilvari, meanwhile, seemed most interested in human biology and medicine. Alice often found Kreetal watching Earth through the station's windows. One day, she asked what the ambassador found so fascinating. "Such a beautiful world, yet so harsh by our standards," Kreetal said softly. "It has shaped your kind into something unique. Is that good or bad?" Alice asked. "Perhaps." "Neither. Perhaps both." Kreetal turned to face her. "But the universe is vast, and not always kind. The Confederation has mostly known peace for centuries, but there are regions of space we avoid, dangers we dare not face." A chill ran down Alice's spine. "Are you saying there are threats out there? Hostile aliens?" "Not all species seek friendship. As we do, some Confederation members worried your kind might be dangerous. I believe your strength may one day be necessary." Before Alice could ask more questions, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Red lights flashed in the corridors as a voice spoke in the Zilvari language, sounding urgent. Kreetal's face changed color, paling to an almost white shade. "A distress signal from the outer colonies. One of our worlds is under attack." "From who?" Alice asked, already moving toward the command center. "We do not know, but the message mentioned ships unlike any in our records." Kreetal hurried alongside her. "Commander Wright, I fear the day when we need Earth's help may come sooner than any of us expected." As they reached the command center, screens showed distant images of strange black ships surrounding a small green planet. The Zilvari officers looked terrified. Peter joined them, out of breath from running. "What's happening?" Alice watched the images with growing concern. "I think we're about to find out why the Zilvari were interested in our Deathworld advantages." Kreetal turned to Alice, those large eyes now filled with unmistakable fear. "Commander, my people need help. Would Earth consider answering this call?" Alice looked at the frightened alien faces around her, then back at the image of Earth visible through the window. Humanity had just found its place in a bigger universe, and already that place was being challenged. But if there was one thing humans from a Deathworld knew how to do, it was face challenges. "I'll need to contact Earth Command," she said firmly. "But I believe we will stand with our new allies. Whatever's out there, they're about to learn that humans don't scare easily." 3 years passed since first contact with the Zilvari. Earth had joined the Confederation, and humans were now a common sight on alien worlds. Captain Samuel Harris stood on the bridge of the USS Defender, the first human military vessel built, with Zilvari technology. At 38, Sam had the serious eyes of someone who had seen combat, but hoped never to see it again. "Coming out of faster-than-light travel in 30 seconds, Captain," said Lieutenant Paul Dixon from the navigation station. Sam nodded. "All hands to alert status. Let's hope the distress call was a false alarm." The ship emerged near Velara, an outer colony of the Zilvari. Immediately, Sam knew something was terribly wrong. The planet's orbital stations were in ruins, and dark ships unlike any Sam had seen before surrounded the blue-green world. Multiple unknown vessels detected, reported Officer Cindy Warren, her fingers moving quickly over the sensor controls. "They're not responding to Confederation identification signals. Get me Fleet Admiral Zonvar," Sam ordered. The main screen flickered to show a Zilvari with gray-blue skin and worried eyes. "Captain Harris, we feared you might not arrive in time," said Zonvar. "The Void Scale attacked without warning 3 days ago. We have lost contact with the surface colonies." Void Scale? Sam had never heard this name before. A species unknown to the Confederation until now. They appear to be a hive-mind collective. "Their ships are organic technological hybrids." Zonvar's voice trembled slightly. "They have already overwhelmed our defenses on 2 worlds." Sam studied the tactical display. The Zilvari defense fleet was falling back, clearly outmatched. "What are your orders, Admiral?" "We must evacuate the remaining colonists, but our ships cannot break through their blockade." Sam thought for a moment. The Defender was just one ship, but it had been built with Earth's military philosophy in mind, something the peaceful Zilvari had little experience with. "We'll create an opening," Sam said. "Have your evacuation ships ready to move when we give the signal." The Defender moved forward, its engines pushing to full power. Engineer Olivia Martinez monitored the systems from engineering. At 35, Olivia had helped design many of the human adaptations to the Zilvari technology, making them more robust and combat-ready. "The shields won't hold long against concentrated fire," she warned over the comm. "But I've rerouted emergency power. We should be able to take more hits than they expect." Sam acknowledged her report as the ship accelerated toward the enemy blockade. "All weapons ready. Target the largest concentration of enemy ships and fire." When in range, the Defender's weapons blazed to life, striking the black biomechanical ships. The Void-scale vessels seemed surprised by the attack, scattering momentarily before turning to face this new threat. "They're responding," Cindy reported. 5 ships breaking formation to intercept us." Sam smiled grimly. "That's what we wanted. Keep pressing the attack." The Defender shuddered as enemy fire struck the shields. On the screen, Sam could see the Void-scale ships more clearly now. They resembled giant manta rays with metallic scales and glowing purple energy pulsing through vein-like structures across their hulls. "Shields at 60%, Paul called out as another hit rocked the ship. Olivia's voice came through again. "Captain, I'm noticing something. Their weapons are calibrated for Zilvari shield frequencies. They're not as effective against our modified shields." Sam leaned forward. "Can we use that?" "Yes. I'm adjusting our shield modulation now." "It should buy us time." The Defender continued its aggressive charge, drawing more Void-scale ships away from the blockade. Sam noticed a gap forming, exactly what they needed. "Admiral Zonvar, you have your opening. Begin evacuation now," Sam ordered. On the other side of the blockade, Zilvari ships rushed toward the planet's surface. The Void-scale ships turned to stop them, but the Defender fired again, drawing their attention back. "They're angry now," Cindy said. All enemy ships are focusing on us. The ship rocked violently as multiple energy beams struck it simultaneously. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. Shields at 30% and falling, Paul reported. We can't take much more of this. Sam opened a channel to the entire crew. All hands, prepare for emergency maneuvers. This is going to get rough. The Defender spun and dived, using maneuvers that would have crushed the more fragile Zilvari. Crew members under the G-forces. Even for the human crew, it was a struggle to remain conscious as Sam pushed the ship to its limits. Olivia's team in engineering worked frantically to keep systems online. When a power conduit exploded, burning her arm, she simply wrapped it quickly and continued working. The Zilvari engineer assisting her stared in shock at her ability to continue despite the injury. How can you function? He asked. You need medical attention. Later, Olivia said, wincing as she reconnected power systems. The ship comes first. On the planet's surface, Fleet Admiral Zonvar coordinated the evacuation. He watched in amazement as the single human ship battled against overwhelming odds, creating the diversion they desperately needed. I have never seen such tactics, he told. His second in command. The humans fight like nothing I have witnessed in my long career. Their ship should have been destroyed already, the other Zilvari replied. Yet they continue. Back on the Defender, Sam received word that the evacuation was proceeding. How many more ships need to get through? He asked Admiral Zonvar. 3. More transports. But Captain, your ship's condition. We'll hold, Sam interrupted. Just get your people out. Another blast hit the Defender, and a section of the hull breached. Emergency force fields activated, but the damage was severe. Hull breach on Deck 4, Paul reported. Automatic systems containing it, but we've lost weapons on the port side, Sam nodded grimly. Reroute all remaining power to engines and starboard weapons. We need to keep their attention just a little longer. The Defender limped forward, still fighting. Every Zilvari watching the battle could hardly believe what they were seeing. No Confederation ship had ever sustained such damage and remained operational. On the last evacuation transport, a young Zilvari named Shrelzun recorded the battle. As a science officer, he had been studying humans since first contact, but nothing had prepared him for this display of determination. They do not retreat, he noted in his recorder, even when logic dictates they should. This is why Deathworld species are different. They do not accept defeat easily. Finally, the last transport cleared the atmosphere. Admiral Zonvar contacted the Defender. Captain Harris, the evacuation is complete. All remaining ships are away. You must withdraw now. The Defender turned, its engines straining as it accelerated away from the planet. Several void-scale ships followed in pursuit. Can we make it to faster than light? Sam asked Olivia. The drive is damaged but functional. We need 30 seconds to align properly. We may not have 30 seconds, Sam replied as enemy fire continued to pound the failing shields. Olivia's voice was determined. We'll make it work, Captain. Humans always do. As the Defender prepared to jump, Admiral Zonvar watched from his command ship. These humans, he said quietly. They are unlike any allies we have ever had. His aide looked concerned. Some will fear them after seeing this. They are too aggressive, too willing to risk everything. Perhaps, Zonvar replied. But right now, I believe that is exactly what the Confederation needs. The Defender vanished into faster-than-light travel, just as the void-scale ships closed in. They had escaped, though barely. As emergency repairs began, Sam looked at his injured crew working tirelessly despite their wounds. Send a message to Earth Command, he told Communications Officer Gary Wells. Tell them we've encountered a hostile species called the Void Scale. They've attacked Zilvari colonies without provocation. And tell them—" He paused, looking at the damage reports streaming in. "Tell them we're going to need more ships." Earth responded to the void-scale threat with surprising speed. Within 2 months, a fleet of 50 human ships had been retrofitted with Zilvari technology and sent to the front lines. Colonel Frank Daniels watched from the troop carrier as they approached the contested border world of Nexus 7. At 45, Frank had gray at his temples and scars on his knuckles from a lifetime of military service. "This will be the first major ground operation," he told his soldiers as they prepared their equipment. "The Zilvari have never fought a war like this. We need to show them humans know how to get the job done." The men and women nodded. They had all volunteered for this mission when Earth's governments asked for help defending their alien allies. Many, like Sergeant Kelly Martinez, had combat experience from Earth conflicts. "The enemy uses some kind of biological weapons," Kelly told her squad as they checked their gear. "The Zilvari weren't prepared for it, but we've got better immune systems and protective gear." On the command ship, Lisa Garcia worked at her communications station. At 32, she had been a linguistics expert before joining the United Space Command. Now she managed the complex task of coordinating between human forces and their Zilvari allies. "The translation systems are ready," she informed Fleet Command. "All human units can now understand Zilvari battle communications in real time." Admiral Zonvar entered the command center, accompanied by Science Officer Trell Zun. Both Zilvari looked tired. They had lost 3 more colony worlds while waiting for human reinforcements. "Your people have arrived very quickly," Zonvar said to Lisa. "We did not expect such a rapid response." Lisa nodded. "When friends need help, humans don't waste time." Trell Zun moved closer, his data pad ready. "I have been studying your species since the first battle. The way Captain Harris and his crew continued fighting despite injuries that would incapacitate most Confederation species... It was remarkable." "That's just how we are," Lisa replied. "Humans are stubborn." The fleet entered orbit around Nexus 7. The planet had been a thriving Zilvari research outpost before the Voidscale arrived. Now the main colony was under siege, with the remaining Zilvari, scientists and civilians hiding in underground shelters. Frank's troops prepared for drop pod deployment. Each soldier carried equipment that would have been impossibly heavy for a Zilvari, but was manageable in the higher gravity humans were used to. The drop pods were modified to withstand more impact than the standard Zilvari design. "Remember," Frank told his troops, "the atmosphere down there has higher levels of carbon dioxide than we're used to. Your bodies can handle it, but you'll feel the difference. The Voidscale are adapted to it, and the Zilvari use breathing assistance. We're the only ones who can operate without special gear." The drop pods launched, streaking through the atmosphere like falling stars. As they neared the surface, Frank felt the familiar lurch of deceleration. His pod hit the ground hard, the impact jarring but not dangerous to his human physiology. Frank emerged into chaos. The sky was tinted orange from atmospheric dust, and in the distance, strange organic structures grew from the ground, void-scale biotech. He quickly found Kelly and the other squad leaders. "Secure the landing zone," he ordered. "Ben, we move." Toward the research center, the human soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, using the terrain for cover. When they encountered their first void-scale patrol, Frank got his first good look at the enemy. They were insectoid creatures with 6 limbs and chitinous armor, moving with disturbing synchronization. "Fire!" Kelly shouted, and the humans attacked with coordinated precision. The Voidscale fired back with weapons that launched glowing green projectiles. When one hit near Frank, it burst into a cloud of spores. His helmet filters caught most of it, but he felt a slight burning on his exposed skin. "Biological agent," he warned the others, mask sealed. A Zilvari observer named Kelinov watched the battle from a distance, recording everything for the Science Council. He was amazed at how the humans continued fighting despite exposure to the spore clouds that had decimated Zilvari forces. Their immune systems are responding to the attack, he noted in his recorder. The spores cause only minor irritation to human skin, while they cause respiratory failure in our people. The battle continued for hours as human forces pushed toward the research center. Frank's troops showed no signs of fatigue despite the higher gravity and difficult atmosphere. When a soldier named Bill Jackson took a hit to his arm, he simply applied a field bandage and continued fighting. Kalinov couldn't believe what he was seeing. The injured human is still operational, he reported. A wound of that nature would require immediate medical evacuation for a Zilvari. Frank's forces reached the research center by nightfall. Inside, they found 30 Zilvari scientists hiding in a sealed chamber. The aliens looked at the humans with a mixture of fear and hope. "We came to get you out," Frank told them through his translator. "The evacuation ships will be here within the hour." One of the scientists, a female named Velmora, approached Frank. "You are bleeding," she pointed out, noticing a cut on his forehead. Frank touched it briefly. "It's nothing. Just a scratch." "You humans ... Velmora said quietly. "The way you endure. It is both terrifying and wonderful." Back in orbit, Lisa coordinated the evacuation efforts. She worked alongside Trelzan, who continued to document human capabilities. "Your soldiers have been fighting for 12 hours straight, in conditions that would kill most Confederation species within minutes," Trelzan noted. "How is this possible?" Lisa smiled tiredly. "We evolved on a world that tried to kill us every day. Earth has extreme weather, dangerous predators, disease, natural disasters. Humans had to become tough to survive." Trelzan's large eyes blinked slowly. "The very traits that made some Confederation members fear your species are now our greatest." Hope. As the evacuation ships returned with the rescued scientists and Frank's troops, Admiral Zonvar called a meeting of the Joint Command. The large view screen showed the battle had turned in their favor, with void-scale forces retreating from Nexus 7. "This is our first victory," Zonvar announced, "thanks to our human allies." The Zilvari officers in the room looked at the humans with new respect. What had once seemed frightening, human endurance, aggression, and adaptability, now represented salvation. Sam Harris, now promoted to fleet commander after his actions at Velara, studied the strategic map. The Void Scale didn't expect resistance like this. They've only encountered Confederation species before. They don't know how to fight Deathworlders. Frank nodded in agreement. "We should press the advantage. Take the fight to them before they adapt." Trelzan approached the human officers cautiously. "There is something you should know," he said. "Our scientists have analyzed void-scale communication patterns. They appear to be sharing information about humans throughout their hive mind. They are not afraid of you." Lisa looked surprised. "Afraid of us?" "Yes," Trelzan confirmed. "They called your kind the Enduring Ones in their communications. They have never encountered a species that can withstand their biological weapons or fight effectively in such varied environments." Sam smiled slightly. "Good. Fear might make them think twice about attacking more worlds." As the meeting ended, Frank looked out the viewport at the planet below. Humans had traveled across the stars, hoping to find friendship, and instead found war. But perhaps this was why they had been brought into the galactic community, not despite being Deathworlders, but because of it. "We won't let them take another world," he promised Admiral Zonvar. "That's what all eyes are for." The Zilvari Admiral placed a six-fingered hand on Frank's shoulder. "When we called for help, we did not know what to expect. Now I understand why the old stories warn about Deathworld species, but also why they speak of them with such respect. 6 months into the war, not everything was going smoothly between humans and their Zilvari allies. Diplomat Ryan Collins sat in a tense meeting on the Zilvari homeworld, trying to keep his face calm despite the growing hostility in the room. At 36, Ryan had always been good at reading people, even alien people. "The humans are changing the nature of the Confederation," said Council Member Jerzin, his pale blue skin flushed with emotion. "They bring war and aggression to our peaceful society." Ryan kept his voice level. "We didn't start this war. The Void Scale did. We're simply helping you end it." Elder Council Member Vexenor, one of the oldest Zilvari and a strong supporter of the Human Alliance, raised a 6-fingered hand for silence. "The humans have saved 3 of our colony worlds already. Without them, we would be losing this war." The council chamber fell quiet. Ryan could feel the division among the Zilvari leaders. Some saw humans as saviors, others as a dangerous influence. The victories against the Void Scale had come at a cost. The peaceful Zilvari were being forced to embrace warfare, something that went against centuries of their cultural development. After the meeting, Ryan walked with Vexenor through the gardens of the Zilvari capital. The city was beautiful, with spiraling crystal towers and floating platforms connected by energy bridges. "Some fear what happens after the war," Vexenor admitted. "They worry that humans, with your natural strength and military skills, might someday become a threat to the Confederation." Ryan frowned. "We joined the Confederation as friends. We're fighting and dying to protect your people." "I know this," Vexenor said, "but fear is not always rational, especially for species who have known peace for so long." Meanwhile, on the frontier world of Caldoria, Security Chief Maria Russell was discovering just how deep these fears ran. At 40, Maria had sharp eyes that missed nothing and a quick mind that connected dots others missed. She had been assigned to a joint security team protecting a vital supply base. Maria noticed that certain supply shipments were being rerouted without proper authorization. When she investigated, she found encrypted communications between several Zilvari officials. Though she couldn't decode all of it, what she understood worried her deeply. "I think there's a splinter group forming," she told her human colleague, Officer Jake Wilson. "They're talking about containment protocols for after the war." Jake looked concerned. "Containment protocols for the Void Scale?" "No," Maria said, grimly, "for humans." That same day, far across the galaxy, the joint human Zilvari fleet suffered a major setback. Fleet Commander Sam Harris watched in horror as Void Scale ships surrounded his forces near the strategic world of Lyra 9. "They knew we were coming," he told Admiral Zonvar over the emergency channel. "This was an ambush." The battle was fierce. 3 human ships and 7 Zilvari vessels were destroyed in the first attack wave. The remaining fleet was forced to retreat to the far side of Lyra 9's moon, hiding in its shadow while emergency repairs were made. "We need reinforcements," Sam told his bridge crew, "but the nearest support fleet is 3 days away." Lieutenant Paul Dixon studied the tactical display. "Sir, the Void Scale have positioned ships to block all regular escape routes. We are trapped." On the Zilvari command ship, Admiral Zongar faced a difficult decision. "We should abandon Lyra 9, his second-in-command suggested. "The position is lost." Zonvar shook his head. "If we lose Lyra 9, the Void Scale will have a clear path to the inner colonies." And Commander Harris and his human crews refused to retreat. "That is their Deathworld nature," the second-in-command said. "They do not recognize when a situation is hopeless." The Admiral looked thoughtful. "Perhaps that is exactly what we need now." Back on the Zilvari homeworld, Ryan Collins received an urgent message from Maria. The information about the splinter group was concerning enough that he immediately requested an emergency meeting with Elder Vexinar. There are elements within your government planning to turn against us, Ryan explained, showing the partial decryptions Maria had sent. They see us as a future threat to be eliminated once the Void Scale are defeated. Vexinar studied the evidence, his expression grave. This is very troubling. These communications bear the authorization codes of the Inner Circle, our highest security agency. While our people are fighting and dying together, someone is planning betrayal, Ryan said, struggling to keep his anger in check. Vexinar placed a gentle hand on Ryan's arm. Not all of us. Many Zilvari have come to deeply respect humans. Your kind has shown not just strength, but compassion and sacrifice. At that moment, news of the battle at Lyra 9 reached the capital. Reports indicated that the joint fleet was trapped and outnumbered. Commander Harris is refusing to abandon the position, an aide informed them. The humans say they will hold the line no matter the cost. Ryan felt a chill. If the fleet was lost, it would not only be a military disaster, but might also strengthen the position of those Zilvari who feared human influence. I need to go there, Ryan decided. If there's a way to help them, or at least ensure this setback doesn't damage our alliance further. Vexinar looked surprised. That is a combat zone. Diplomats do not normally enter active battle areas. Ryan smiled grimly. Humans do things differently. Sometimes a personal touch is needed. On Caldoria, Maria continued gathering evidence about the splinter group. She discovered that a Zilvari scientist named Relvuin was developing a biological agent designed specifically to target human physiology, a weapon that would be harmless to Zilvari, but deadly to humans. This is worse than we thought, she told Jake as they secretly accessed Relvuin's lab after hours. They're not just planning political isolation. Some of them are planning elimination. Jake's face hardened as he looked at the data. We need to alert Earth Command immediately. Not yet, Maria cautioned. If we expose this too soon, we could shatter the Alliance when we need it most. We need to find out who's behind this first, and make sure we have allies among the Zilvari leadership. At Lyra 9, the trapped fleet prepared for a desperate stand. Sam Harris gathered his captains via holographic conference. The Void Scale expect you as to either attempt escape or surrender, he told them. We're going to do neither. We're going to attack. The plan was audacious. Using the moon's gravity to slingshot their ships, they would launch a surprise assault on the Void Scale flagship. It was a high-risk strategy that depended on precise timing and the superior durability of the human-modified ships. Our Zilvari. Allies think this plan is too dangerous, Sam admitted. But sometimes the most dangerous move is the one your enemy least expects. As preparations continued, a small diplomatic shuttle arrived carrying Ryan Collins. He had pulled every string and called in every favor to reach the fleet in time. Commander Harris, Ryan greeted Sam once aboard the flagship. I hear you're planning something crazy, Sam smiled. Crazy enough that it might work. But why is our top diplomat in a war zone? Ryan's expression grew serious. Because this battle has implications beyond just military strategy. There are factions within the Zilvari government watching how this plays out. Some of them are already planning for a future without human allies. Sam looked troubled by this news. So we're not just fighting for Lyra 9. We're fighting for the future of the Alliance, Ryan confirmed. And I needed to see it firsthand. As the fleet prepared for their desperate gambit, Ryan sent a message back to Vexinar. Whatever happens. Here, remember that humans fight hardest when protecting friends. The Void Scale should fear us. Our allies never should. The battle was about to begin, and with it, perhaps the most crucial test yet of the unusual alliance between Deathworlders and their more fragile friends. Admiral Catherine Taylor stood on the bridge of the Earth battleship Intrepid, leading the largest human fleet ever assembled. At 52, she had silver streaks in her dark hair and the confident posture of someone used to command. The view screen showed hundreds of ships moving into formation around the Zilvari homeworld of Meridia. The void scale will reach Meridia in 6 hours, her tactical officer reported. Their fleet outnumbers ours 3-1. Catherine nodded calmly. After the desperate victory at Lyra 9, where Commander Harris had pulled off what many called a miracle, the void scale had changed tactics. Instead of attacking colony worlds, they were now striking directly at the heart of the Confederation. Status of the evacuation? Catherine asked. Ongoing, Admiral. Civilian ships are leaving Meridia, but millions of Zilvari remain on the planet. In the planet's main hospital, human medic Greg Patterson worked frantically alongside Zilvari doctors. At 39, Greg had spent the last year developing treatments that would help their alien allies survive in combat conditions. The new formula is ready, he told Dr. Zelvira, his Zilvari colleague. It will temporarily strengthen your people's respiratory systems against both void-scale biological weapons and high-stress environments. Zelvira looked nervous. The side effects are significant. Higher heart rate, increased body temperature, things humans deal with every day, Greg said gently. Your volunteers will feel uncomfortable, but they'll be able to fight alongside us in conditions that would normally be lethal to Zilvari. A group of 20 Zilvari soldiers waited nearby. They had volunteered for Greg's experimental treatment, the first of their kind willing to embrace the physical stress that humans took for granted. One of them, Captain Lurvin, approached Greg. Will this make us like humans? Greg shook his head. Not exactly, but it will give you some of our advantages for about 12 hours, just enough time for the battle. On Caldoria, Security Chief Maria Russell had finally gathered enough evidence about the Zilvari splinter group. Working with Elder Vexenar, she identified the leaders, 3 high-ranking officials, who believed humans would become a greater threat than the void scale in the long term. They planned to release a virus that would target only humans once the war ended, Maria explained to Ryan Collins over a secure channel. But most of the Zilvari Council was horrified when they learned of it. The conspirators have been arrested. Ryan looked relieved. That's one less thing to worry about. Now we just need to survive the next 24 hours. The Void Scale fleet appeared at the edge of the Meridian system right on schedule. Their ships had evolved since the first encounters, growing larger and more heavily armored. At the center of their formation was an enormous vessel unlike any seen before, a living flagship the size of a small moon. All ships to battle positions, Admiral Catherine ordered. Remember the plan. We need to hold them until Commander Harris arrives with the Lyra fleet. The human ships moved to form a protective barrier around Meridia. Unlike the more elegant Zilvari vessels, human ships were blocky and heavily armored, built to take punishment that would destroy their allies' craft. On the planet's surface, Colonel Frank Daniels led a mixed force of human and Zilvari troops. The Zilvari soldiers who had taken Greg's treatment stood out from their peers, their skin slightly flushed with increased blood flow. Remember, Frank told them, you'll feel pain and exhaustion in ways you're not used to. That's normal. Humans feel that way all the time, and we keep going. Captain Lurvin nodded. We are ready to fight as Deathworlders today. The battle began with a massive void-scale attack. Their ships fired biological weapons at Meridia, trying to make the planet uninhabitable for the Zilvari. The human fleet intercepted many of the missiles, but some got through Dot where the biological agents landed. Strange growths began to form. Void-scale terraforming technology that would convert the planet to their preferred environment. Frank's ground forces rushed to these sites, using specially designed human weapons to burn away the alien growth dot in orbit. Catherine's fleet took heavy damage, but continued fighting. The Intrepid shook violently as enemy fire struck its shields. Shields. At 30%, her tactical officer reported. 2 destroyer-class ships lost. The Zilvari defenders have lost 7 vessels. Catherine studied the tactical display. The massive void-scale flagship remained at the rear of their formation, protected by layers of smaller ships. We need to take out that command ship, but we can't get close enough. Then, unexpected readings appeared on the sensors. Multiple. Ships emerging from faster-than-light travel, the officer announced. It's Commander Harris and the Lyra fleet. Sam Harris had arrived with his battle-tested ships, approaching from behind the void-scale formation. Admiral Taylor, he called. Over the com. We brought some friends. The view screen showed not just human and Zilvari ships, but vessels from other Confederation species allies, who had previously stayed out of the conflict, but now joined the fight after seeing human and Zilvari courage. All ships focus fire. On the flagship, Catherine ordered. This is our chance. On the void-scale command ship, the being known as Hive Queen Zix Thorax observed the battle with growing concern. For the first time in her long existence, she felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. The Deathworlders fight with unexpected strength, she communicated to her commanders. And now they have taught the Zilvari to resist our weapons. The Hive Queen had chosen the Zilvari Confederation as a target specifically because scans showed their physiology was vulnerable. The appearance of humans, creatures evolved on a world that would kill most spacefaring species, had never been part of her calculations. As the combined fleet pressed its attack, Catherine received a communication from Greg Patterson on the surface. Admiral, we've discovered something. The void-scale biological weapons are all calibrated for high oxygen, low-gravity environments, the opposite of human whole-world conditions. Our physiology is naturally resistant to their entire arsenal, Catherine smiled. That explains a lot. They never expected to fight Deathworlders. The battle reached its climax when Sam Harris's flagship, the Defender, broke through the void-scale formation and launched a daring attack on the Hive Queen's vessel. The ship had been modified with a powerful new weapon developed by engineer Olivia Martinez, one that targeted the biological components of void-scale technology. Fire when ready, Sam ordered. The beam struck the massive flagship, and for a moment nothing happened. Then, portions of the living ship began to deteriorate. The effect spread like infection throughout the vessel. On the planet below, Frank's troops cheered as they watched the enormous ship begin to break apart in orbit. The treated Zilvari soldiers, though exhausted and in pain from their enhanced bodies, stood proudly alongside their human allies. Is it over? Captain Lurvin asked Frank. Not yet, Frank replied. But today is a turning point. As the Hive Queen's ship disintegrated, the remaining void-scale vessels began retreating. Without their central intelligence, the hive mind was thrown into confusion. In the aftermath, Zilvari and humans gathered in the Great Hall of Meridia. Elder Vexnar addressed the assembled heroes. Today we have witnessed something remarkable. The old Zilvari said, not just victory in battle, but the true meaning of alliance. Humans came when we called for help. They fought for worlds not their own. They taught us that sometimes strength can come from our differences. Admiral Catherine Taylor stepped forward. The void scale underestimated both of our species. They thought the Zilvari too fragile and overlooked humans entirely. They never imagined that Deathworlders and peaceful species could become something greater together. Captain Lurvine, still showing signs of Greg's treatment, addressed the crowd. For one day, I experienced life as a human. The pain, the stress, the constant awareness of danger, but also the strength, the endurance, the will to continue despite all odds. I understand now why humans are the way they are. and why the galaxy needs both our peoples. As celebrations continued, Ryan Collins found himself standing beside Commander Harris, watching humans and Zilvari mingling together. "When we first met the Zilvari, they were afraid of us," Ryan observed. "They called Earth a death world, and worried about our aggressive tendencies." Sam nodded. "And now?" Ryan smiled. "Now they know that sometimes, when danger threatens, you need allies who evolved on a world that tried to kill them every day. Sometimes, when you cry out for help, you need Deathworlders to answer."